Top story for me this week. It was a tight top story because there's another one that could get the top story, but we'll go for current news for Wednesday, even though I guess morally it's not the top story, but we'll go for the top story. Theo Corbeanu has had his loan terminated and he has returned to Wolves to immediately go on loan to Sheffield Wednesday's rivals in the league for promotion, MK Dons. So the initial story as it was developing was from the Star with the headline, quote, Wolves set to terminate loan of Sheffield Wednesday starlet Theo Corbeanu, League One rivals lined up. The loan of Sheffield Wednesday loanee Theo Corbeanu is set to be terminated by parent club Wolverhampton Wanderers, the Star can exclusively reveal. Now, as this story developed, another article from the Star said, and quote, reports circulated earlier this season that the Premier League side were growing concerned at Corbeanu's progress at Wednesday. And though they are thankful for the work Moore and his coaching staff have been able to put into the youngsters' game in recent months, the Star understands it was made clear to Corbeanu that a deal to make a switch to Liam Manning's MK Dons side was preferable for the Midlands club. In a statement released by Wolves late on Thursday evening, Wolves' loan manager Matt Jackson said, ultimately, the decision came down to what the 19-year-old felt was best for him. This is a quote from Matt Jackson. Theo had a fantastic experience up at Sheffield Wednesday, who have treated him brilliantly. But he has now got an opportunity to go to MK Dons and get some regular game time until the end of the season in a formation which is best suited for him. For his football development, we believe this is a really good option, but the decision was left to the player, and after discussions with Theo and Sheffield Wednesday, we've come to an agreed plan, end quote. Theo on Twitter has said, quote, a new page in the chapter book. Very happy to announce I have joined MK Dons on loan for the rest of the season. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank everyone at Sheffield Wednesday for all the love and support I was given. The journey continues. He also said a little bit more in the presser to their I follow how that we were a fantastic big club, all of that, and it just wasn't. There was heavily hinting, and as you heard from some of the Star reporting there, we weren't playing to his strengths. There's been an outcry on there. I've got a lot of our community's opinions on this. We are going to read that out first, but I'd like to go with your initial thoughts on what this is as we go into it. How do you feel about it, Jake?
I'm in two minds because Wolves are very well known for being a club that if a player not suiting a club's how they wanted it, they'll pull him. And if he was doing well, you could have probably seen it gone the other way. You go, right, you're doing well in League One. Let's throw you in the Championship for the second half of the season. What happened? This is the nature of having a lone player at times.
I'm not sure, though, because I think if he was doing really well here, yes, they would say that, but the continuity's got a lot to do with it as well. I think that it kept him in a fire inside.
The big one that got me in there was in the article is the fact that Theo had a fantastic experience at Sheffield, treated him brilliantly. Now, everyone's gone, we treated him poorly, we treated him badly. The big thing is we did a massive formation shift as soon as we started getting injuries at the back. Start of the season, we had 4 at the back, and then you had your wingers bombing forward. That suited him down to the ground. We then got all the issues at the back where it then there had to be a formation change. We didn't have the players or the squad to do that. We had to be making makeshift players. Yes, I understand what people are saying and I understand it, but at the same time, from what you've seen when he had played, he's ifs and bells, if you know what I mean. The bits of the game where he's fantastic, but the bits of the game where he should be looking up for a cross instead of trying to go for a worldie. It's that whole 19-year-old wanting to try and do his best. It's a great move for him and MK Don because they probably will get the best out of him. But I've spoken to an MK Don fan who turned around and said they play with wing back too, so it's like really interesting to see how they're going to try and fit him in.
That's the thing, right? Because if they do play with wing backs, right, that doesn't make sense what's been said about it. Because for me now, Corbeanu was getting in that side as a wing back. You know, he was getting time and he bedded in. And I said about our loan players, it was going to take them time to bed into this system. They needed to actually get to know the club and then they'll start getting their opportunities. And Theo was one of those that was getting that. And he was starting to become a first teamer. He was inconsistent. He is inconsistent. He's a young winger. He made a lot of wrong decisions on the ball, you know, when he should have passed it, but he wanted to go for it. And I kind of like a player that does that. There were some times where we could have probably picked up points if he'd had passed it. But I was disappointed, and I am disappointed that he has gone in this sort of In this, I think he could have had a good second half of the season with us if things had have clicked together. In the situation Wednesday are in terms of bringing players in, I am a little bit disappointed. But with the formation shift, defensively, he started to look better.
Yeah.
But as a wing back, we need somebody who can probably offer us a little bit more going back if we are going to play with wing backs because of this injury situation we've gone in. But you are 100% right that the thing that's been overlooked is the massive formation shift that we were dealt with injuries. And once I'd sort of done the original, for God's sake, Wednesday, I did see it from that aspect. I did try and take it down a little bit more to the rationality of it. And I'd like to see... I think he's going to have a good career if he can get the consistency into his game.
He's going to be a fantastic player. I can see him being one of those ones where Wolves eventually will cash in on him. He got the ability.
Yeah.
And he got the skill. And when you saw it, it's great. But there was sometimes like in the Sunderland, the Shrewsbury game, there were times where he had a shot come cross. It's like he was aiming to shoot when he should have been crossing. It just happened to go all the way over the box. And like little things like that. And he's very tricky. He got good step over, but those step overs have got him caught out of position, which would then have to have our lot stream all the way back to try and make a fix his mistake. But 19-year-old kid, it happens. It'll be interesting to see what we do to kind of A, replace him, or B, is there another way of doing it and we got something set up. But the big thing out of all of that I'm completely missing is, for me, is everyone been having a go at the club and saying how bad Darren Moore. Wolves have turned around and gone, we're happy with what they were trying to do. It just didn't work. And everyone missed that part completely as well.
True. We'll talk about replacements in a minute, actually, because we'll make this topic a bit of an extended one in a second. I want to go into what the community had to say about it. So, Marascus Bomb wrote in and said, personally, I was disappointed to hear this. There were times he was able to move that ball from defence to attack in the blink of an eye and could bamboozle opposition when he ran at them. Maybe not as consistently as we would have liked, and he could be frustrating as he was exciting. But for such a young player who was developing, it would have been nice to nurture his obvious talents. Having said that, I'm far from surprised when Wolves do recall him. Didn't they warn us months ago that they would be forced to find another team who would give him regular first-team football if Wednesday continued to underutilise him? Or did I imagine that? True, I do think he'd started to be utilised, though, so spot on with most of the things you've said there, mate, but I do think Wednesday actually did start to use him. That's the disappointing side. But if he is going to be played as a wing-back at MK Dons, it doesn't really make sense. But yes, we were originally meant to play him in his position and role. We had somebody, Charlie Wrighton, who just said Darren Moore masterclass. And someone goes more until the end of the season for me. A bit of sarcasm in there. Justin writes in and goes, hello League 2, keep a seat warm and we'll be with you shortly. The club has become an absolute shambles. More needs to go. Chansiri can sell up and leave too. Can we get Mandarich back to run the club? Of course, if he isn't available, I'm sure Ronald McDonald could do a better job. Joke. Tell us how you really feel, Justin, on that one. What
I found really funny, actually, when it came to the Theo thing, we both put shorts up literally about the same time.
Yeah. I actually beat you to that, but because I put a bit of editing in mine, yours got up first because mine had a process. I was like, God damn it. Chef Cam wrote in and went, if it frees up another loan, one that can actually play in a 3-5-2, then fair play, no problem. Only thing is that this being Wednesday, I could see them getting another winger into play. We'll ignore the latter on that for now. I do agree if we can bring more players in to fit this system, but I don't think this is. We know from Moore's history, this isn't the system he really likes anyway. No. He has been forced into that, and he has had some it might sound like we're defending him here, and don't get me wrong, I have started to turn with some of the things where I'm like, right, come on, Moore, you need to have some backup plans here, man. You need to sort it out. But he has been forced into a lot of the decisions.
The thing I got is when we got game waiting 0-0, it's like, right, you've got an attacker on the bench. Why are you not bringing them in like the 65th minute and start trying to change things? And it just, it's a weird one with Moore at the minute because there's so many people who want to see him go, but there's also so many people who see what he's doing and trying to do. It's so split at the minute. I would say the more people wanting Moore out, then there's more to stay. But it's hard to... If he gets us mid-table, granted, I know that we're pushing from a promotion or he gets us close to that playoffs, considering what he had to do, he's done well in all the injuries. But the big thing for me is going to be, we got to fix where all these injuries coming from.
Yeah, no, that's something we're looking at. They've been saying they've been looking at it for ages. Just carrying on with what our community have been saying about Theo. Caboodlefish wrote in and goes, not fussed about him going, to be honest. People act like it matters, but he had a few bright spots and a fair few anonymous games. Ultimately, he's not a wing-back, so doesn't fit the system we're using. Doesn't really make sense for us, him, or Wolves. Good luck to him, and glad we now have another spot to bring in a player we actually need. So there is a bit of that going off, about we need players that actually fit the system.
I think I said somewhere that he's not the second coming, he's just a very naughty boy.
Of course you did. Steve Whitey White wrote in and went, he'll come back to haunt us, won't he? He'll have the game of his life and bag 2 against us, probably seeing our fate to stay in League One for next season. Oh, Steve, you're probably 100% on there, mate, to be fair. MK Don's fan wrote in and go, does Sheffield use him?
We did for a little bit, but we're not Sheffield.
No.
We're Sheffield.
No, I was going to say.
Wednesday, yeah.
Flay him. Do not call us Sheffield ever.
It's the one time I completely agree with Wilder when he had that interview and they said, can you stop calling us Sheffield?
Yeah.
The Sheffield Wednesday, the Sheffield United.
Graham Souness used to bloody love it as well.
Yeah, he did.
Well, Soph says whenever he's on TV, he goes, oh, it's your best mate, because I always used to get annoyed when he'd call United Sheffield.
Yeah.
I think MK Dons have got a player that if they do revert to a winger system, it will fit. And he can play wing-back going forward. I just think it's a bit of a... It could, if it is the same system, and they've not fed him a load of lies, MK Dons, right? Because they could say, oh, we're going to suit the system to you, sort of thing. You can say that when you're trying to tempt a player, and have those conversations. It could be... There is the darker side of, is there people just trying to jump ship at Wednesday because it doesn't look good behind the scenes again. There is that
blowing
side
up
of
a lot, yeah.
Yeah. We will talk about replacements, though, because we've talked about this player before, so I'm not going to make a big topic of it, but it is worth mentioning. Apparently, there is still interest to bring Josh SIMS in, which is weird because he is obviously a winger and an attacking-minded winger. Now, there's been talks about him looking to find a club in January at the earliest because of some illnesses he's had and things like that.
He's had a heart problem and that stopped him from doing a lot of stuff, which I hate talking about the heart situation in football, because it seems to be the only topic, but I get it. More knows
brings
him,
out all the idiots as well, unfortunately. How
fast can he get into playing football with how long he's been out? And... It's interesting. Personally, me, I wouldn't want to take it. I think he would only be probably back to being playing about March, April time, and that's too much of the season gone.
If we can't bring in any players, I'd take him to end at season.
Yeah.
He's worked with, if we're sticking with Moore, he's worked with Moore before as well. So
it's a voice in the dressing room.
I could see it happening.
Andy,
we spoke at the time, like, do we bring him in? Is it free if we need players? I'm annoyed that it's the day this goes out is January 11th and we've not made any signings.
Yeah. Then again, we brought Lang in, and Lang looked very good actually.
Yeah,
and
we forget that, don't we? Because we've only seen him a couple of times. But he's good on the ball, isn't he? Like, it's actually really... The good thing is his decision-making is better than Corbeanu's. So I can also sort of see why Wednesday would let him go back. Because the one thing we did see, actually, is Lang looked like he was coming in to take Corbeanu's spot. As a wing-back, he seemed to... He didn't lose the ball as much when he tried stuff. He actually... There was a move, I don't know if it was against Shrewsbury or... I think it was against Shrewsbury. Yeah. In the box where he moved in and beat like 3 players, and I was like... Okay.
All he did to beat those 3 players would drop his shoulder. It was nothing fancy.
It's League One. But we're not utilising it in League One.
It was nothing fancy. It was no step or anything. He just dropped his shoulder and got through the gap. It was lovely to see. It's just a shame we couldn't capitalise on it.